Alright, hello, my name is Valethrin, and we are going to go over my Poison Trapper stealth build today, since I had a request for it. So, let's get started. Alright, we're going to start with the skill tree, because that's probably going to be the easiest part to explain so far. Alright, so basic skill, we're going to run Puncture. We get Vulnerability when they're hit with 2 from fundamental punctures, so that's what we're going to go with. Vulnerability is going to be really good. We're going to base a lot of our damage around that. Our core skill is going to be Twisting Blades, because Twisting Blades is just an awesome skill. For our second perk, we're going to take Advanced Twisting Blades for cooldown, cooldown reduction from that. A couple passives here, some damage reduction for close enemies, and heal percentage on crit strike to close enemies. Since we are aiming for crit strike in this build quite a bit, that's going to be pretty good. Moving on. Okay, so movement, we're taking Shadow Step because it is a good way to break CC. We've got Stun on Shadow Step, that's also really good. It's just more CC. We're pretty much going to be a CC build, so it is only single target, but it's like a 2-second stun. You can hit that on elite mobs, and that's really useful. We've got some damage reduction against dots. I tried playing without this, it's not that great. It kind of hurts actually. Since we have CC break, I didn't put any points into this because we're not really CC'd a whole lot, so no point in really worrying about that. We're taking Weapon Mastery for double swords. I'm using double swords on this build for the increased damage. I'm not entirely... I don't think that we get the bonuses from the bows or the crossbows, so I don't think it really matters which one of those you use. I'm pretty sure that's only if you're attacking with one of those, so I think that would be for a ranged build. Then we have Concussive 3 points here for increased crit strike chance against enemies that are knocked down or knocked back. Knocked down is what we're mainly looking for in this one because we're running Poison Trap, which we do get knockdown from Poison Trap. Right there, knockdown. And then it has a 30% chance to reset our imbuement cooldowns as well. We're running Shadow Imbuement, but this is actually where my build is a little bit different than most of the other Twisting Blade builds I've seen. We're running Concealment because we have an aspect that gives us 4 poison traps while we're stealthed, so I just went for the energy gain and just 1 point in Concealment for the stealth. Okay. Here's another interesting part of our build. So I have quite a bit of lucky hit on this build. So with that in mind, I put 3 points here. So when this procs, we're getting almost a 2-second stun on enemies that proc. We do a lot of shadow damage, so that, I mean, it has potential to proc on a lot of enemies, so I think that's pretty useful. I mean, you could argue putting this in some other damage reduction somewhere, or even this. I'm not really sure what else you would do with it at the moment. I only had 1 point in it for a while, but I ended up moving some stuff around so that we could get max Shadow Imbuement and get some points in there. Okay, so for our Shadow Imbuement, we're taking Blended Shadow Imbuement for the vulnerability on the first explosion. That's really good. Like I said, we're basing a lot of our damage around vulnerability, so that's really useful. We've got Crit Strike chance for imbued skills, which is going to be our Twisting Blades pretty much the entire time. That's really good. We're just putting 1 point into Deadly Venom for the damage reduction from poisoned enemies. We're not scaling poison damage in this build, so we only need 1 point to get over here. Okay, last part of the build. Trap Mastery. So we get 12% increased strike chance against vulnerable and CC'd enemies. We have a lot of vulnerable. We have a lot of CC. That's really good. I haven't tried this. I feel like this could be kind of funny. There's a aspect that heals on the explosions of this also that could add some more survivability if this is actually good. Since it is a vulnerable build and a lucky hit build, I might mess around with this and see how it works. But for now, I'm running momentum. Basically, I have an aspect that gives me HP per second on per stack of momentum that I have. So I heal for like 400 life a second if I have 3 stacks of momentum. So we're also getting damage reduction and energy regen and movement speed from this. So that's pretty good, I think. So moving on, let's go over and check out my Paragon board. Alright, so we are mostly an intelligence dexterity build. We're not really putting a whole lot into we're not really putting anything into willpower. I'm gonna end up putting more into strength as we go on to hit some of these extra bonuses, but we've got damage, we've got increase to rare nodes on this one, and imbuement skill potency, so that's pretty good. So we're getting just straight damage from this one, which is really nice. I'm also just like slowly working on getting increased radius on this. I'd like to get down to this if we can. I don't know if it reaches that far. I have no clue. Okay, so our first board I went with Cheap Shot for more damage against CC'd enemies. 25% extra damage for each nearby enemy that's CC'd. The whole premise of the build is to just trap enemies, CC them, keep them close to you. It is a melee build, so this is just a really good addition to the build. We've got a lot of damage to CC'd enemies here. For this one, I'm basically just going with the same thing. CC'd enemies, we're working on increasing the radius on that because we'll hit intelligence, we'll get the bonus from that. We're not really getting the bonus from slowed or chilled or frozen. We'll only get the bonus from stunned, I guess. Is what it is. Not that bad still. More damage to CC'd enemies. Lots of intelligence, lots of dexterity. Third board, since we are only like 68 right now. We're just going to go for exploit weakness for more vulnerable damage. But right now I'm just kind of working my way up to this glyph socket and some more vulnerable damage before we head that way. But that's basically my Paragon board at the moment. With that said, this is my items. Alright, so the reason I'm running the lucky hit version of this build is because of this helm. I got a 25% increased lucky hit chance against CC'd enemies. That's insane. Our whole build is CC. Our whole build is lucky hit. Like, that just makes sense. Here's what I was talking about earlier for our healing. We've got 134 life per second, so roughly 400 or so life per second at 3 stacks of momentum. Another perfect lucky hit roll, 50% chance to spread CC to nearby enemies that are unaffected by CC. That's insane. Straight damage reduction, basic skills grant damage reduction. 20% is really good. There is an aspect that gives damage reduction for CC'd enemies. I was running that for a little bit. You get some movement speed also, but I think that the flat damage reduction is just better. I'm really only using these boots for the charges and the shadow step because I don't have another one yet. And these boots, these boots aren't that great, to be honest. Okay, twisting blades. This is what lets our twisting blades orbit around us and do more damage. We're doing more damage the farther we are from them. So basically, you stab somebody, you get as far away as you can, and they do more damage. That's essentially how that works. Okay, so we've got an imbuement explosion when we cast our imbuement. So basically I just use this as my opener from stealth. Like I'll go stealth, I'll drop my traps, I'll hit my imbuement, get an explosion around me if I'm in the middle of a bunch of enemies, and then just start going to town. Also, this basically gives us a third shadow explosion since we are running shadow imbuement, and the explosion is a big part of our damage. So you get explosion from that, you get explosion from 2 twisting blades, so 3 explosions in total. It's just a lot of shadow damage overall. This one we're using basically to help keep stuff poisoned. It is a lucky hit. It's not really being used for the damage aspect at all. We're just trying to scale damage against poisoned enemies there. Okay, and this is why I run this build the way I do, because we can stealth and we can place more than one poison trap, and I think that's infinitely more fun than just placing one poison trap. So that is why I have built this the way I built this. We've got a little bit of resource regeneration that scales with our healing. We do have a decent amount of healing, so this is fairly useful. And then our last lucky hit item. So making an enemy vulnerable gives us a chance to grant 3 stacks of crit strike chance at 3% each, so 9% total. This is pretty much up all the time in big groups, so that's really good. That's really good. I put it on the amulet so that we had more of a chance to get that. That is why that is on my amulet. I feel like I might be able to use something else there, but I like having a high chance to get that much crit chance, because yeah, 9% crit chance is a lot of crit chance. Okay, so the last thing, I guess specialization we can talk about a little bit. Inner sight. I just like using inner sight because you can spam your twisting blades when you proc it for like you can spam so many twisting blades. That's the bread and butter of our build. That's the main damage of our build, so we want to be spamming that as much as possible, essentially. So inner sight just gives us, I think, the best way to spam that as much as possible. We're not using ultimate, so preparation obviously not going to be useful for us here. I don't know what the combo points are good for. I'm not sure what the bonuses are for this build. I haven't even tried it because inner sight is just that good. So that's basically that. And then the last thing I want to talk about real quick is just some of the stats that I'm rolling on my gear. I know I've already kind of gone over the gear, but stat-wise, obviously since that's a unique, that's set stats, but those are all pretty decent stats for us. This has straight damage reduction from close enemies. That's really good. Cutthroat damage is okay because that's basically our twisting blades there. Crit strike chance, obviously very good. We've got lucky hit for slow on this one. You're pretty much going to want to have twisting blades on your gloves no matter what. You want to rank that up as much as you can since that's your main damage. We've got straight damage reduction, intelligence, all stat, some more damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned. It's pretty decent. I don't even know what I'm looking for on boost yet. Not this, though. Okay, so this weapon's crazy. Vulnerable damage. Lots of vulnerable damage there. Shadow damage. Core skill damage. And close enemies damage. All of those hit our build perfectly. Melee build for close damage. Core skill for our twisting blades. Shadow damage for the imbuement. Vulnerable damage because we just make everybody vulnerable. It all works together really well. So we've got crit strike with imbued skills there. Core skill damage. Damage to enemies affected by trap skills. I mean, this is all the kind of stuff that you're basically looking for this build. Vulnerable, CC'd enemies, poisoned enemies, dexterity, intelligence. I mean, that's basically, yeah. Shadow damage, core skill damage. You can up the physical damage some too because, I mean, twisting blades is a physical skill, so I think upping the physical damage a little bit does help as well. But I think main focus should probably be on the shadow damage, just because the higher your shadow damage is, like, the bigger your explosions are, the easier stuff dies, and the less you have to rely on the actual physical aspect of it. So that is my build. So I'm just gonna show you guys a couple dungeons and show you what the build can do now.
to recharge.